So what do we learn logarithmic function for? Well, aside from to help solve an exponential equation for exponential growth, exponential decay, we also use logarithmic to use as a scale to measure the intensity of earthquake, the intensity of certain noise, and other things. So let's talk about the pH scale. You may hear about things that is acidic and things that are basic. So how do we measure that? The chemists measure the activity of a solution by giving its hydrogen ion concentration until saltpeter in 1909 proposed a more convenient measure. He defined that the level of the pH is the negative log of H positive. So that is the hydrogen ion concentration in the solution. Okay. For example, if H is between negative 10 to the negative 4, then the level of the pH is 4, and the solution of pH of 7 are defined as neutral, and those with less than 7 are acidic, those with more than 7 are called basic. So note that when the pH increased by 1 unit, the level of hydrogen concentration decreased by a factor of 10. So let's take a look at the first example. If the pH of a wine is too high, say 4 or above, the wine becomes unstable and have flat taste. A certain California red wine have a pH of 3.2, and a certain Italian wine have a pH of 2.9. Find the corresponding hydrogen ion concentration in the two wines. Okay. So let's start this. Let's start with part A sub I. And here we want to find the concentration of California wine. And we are given that pH is equal to negative log of hydrogen. And here we are told the pH is 3.2. This means 10 to the 3.2. Excuse me. So here we had a negative. This negative. Let's multiply both sides by negative 1. So negative 3.2 equal log. Okay. So then is equal 10 to the negative 3.2. That's part 2. And we want to find the hydrogen concentration of the Italian wine. Okay. So which wine have a lower ion concentration of the two wine? So part B. Okay. So the first part, 8 plus, that equal to 1 divided by 10 to the 3.2. And then this So let's compare these two numbers. So we know that 10 to the 3.2 is a lot bigger than 10 to the 2.9. And since 1 divided by a larger number, it gets to smaller. So look like the California Y have a lower iron concentration. Okay. Let's move to the next problem. I talk about the earthquake scale. In 1935, the American archaeologist George Richard defined the magnitude M of an earthquake to be M equal log of I divided by S, where I is the intensity of the earthquake measured by the amplitude of a seismogram reading taken 100 km from the epicenter of the earthquake. S is the intensity of a standard earthquake and whose amplitude is 1 micron, and that is 10 to the negative 4 centimeters. Okay. Find the magnitude of earthquake that have intensity of 3.75. That is the amplitude of the seismograph is 3.75 centimeters. So let's take a look at that. So we know that so here we want to find the magnitude. So this is what we want to find. We want to find M. And we are given the intensity. Okay. So M equal log of 3.75 divided by 10 to the negative 4. And that is equal to log of and calculator will give you this is about 4.6. So this is about 4.6 magnitude earthquake. Okay. So in the next one, we look at an earthquake will measure to have the magnitude of 5.1. So we know that M equal to 5.1. And we want to find the intensity. And so let's set up the equation. 5.1 is equal to log of I divided by 10 to the negative 4. This implies 5.1 equal log of I times 10 to the 4. Use the definition of log. I can say that 10 to the 5.1 equal 10 to the 4 times I. So this I equal 10 to the 1.1. This means I is equal to 12.6. So that is the intensity of the earthquake. In 1906, earthquake in San Francisco that have the estimated magnitude of 8.3 on the Richter scale. In the same year, a powerful earthquake occurred in Colombia Equator border that was 4 times as intense. What was the magnitude of the Colombia Equator earthquake on the Richter scale? So what we want to do is first we given the magnitude of the San Francisco earthquake equal 8.3. Okay. And we know that in the same year, the powerful earthquake occurred on the Colombia Equator that is 4 times as intense. So this is 4 times as intense as the one that was in San Francisco. And we want to find the magnitude of the Columbia Equator earthquake. So the first thing I do is to calculate the intensity of the San Francisco earthquake. Okay, so I know that I can do that using the formula, the magnitude equal log of the intensity divided by S. So then 8.3 equal log of I divided by 10 to the negative 4. So then I can write this equation at 8.3 equal log of 10 to the 4 times I, and this meant 10 to the 8.3 is equal to that. So the intensity of the San Francisco earthquake is 10 to the 4.3. Now, if the intensity of the Columbia Equator border earthquake is 4 times the one in San Francisco, then that intensity of the Columbia Equator equal 4 times we'll leave that there for a minute. And now we will calculate the magnitude of the Columbia Equator earthquake. So the magnitude equal to log of the intensity divided by 10 to the negative 4. And that is and this is 8.9 for the magnitude. The last thing that we want to look at is the decibel scale. Okay. So the ear is sensitive to extremely wide range of sound intensity. We take a reference intensity that I naught at the frequency of 1000 Hz would measure the sound that is just barely audible. The psychological sensation of loudness vary with the logarithm of the intensity. So the decibel level B is measured in decibel is defined as the given equation. So let's find the intensity of sound of a leaf blower that is measured at 2 times 10 to the negative 2 watt per meter square, and we want to find the decibel level. So B is equal to 10 times log of the intensity here, that 2.0 times 10 to the negative 2 divided by 10 to the negative 12. That is 10 times log of 20, log of 2.0 times 10 to the 10. And calculator will give us 103 decibel.